While Roland, Tembo, and Ajay Sidhu were on the trail of one of the Tyrannosaurs in the Lost World, they come across the nest of the two Rexes and find their offspring feasting upon a carcass inside. Roland takes the baby from the nest and places the animal on the ground chained to a stake in an effort to lure the male Tyrannosaur out from its home and close to the camp where he and Ajay sit and wait in a nearby tree. Once the animal was in the open, Roland planned on shooting the dinosaur in the brain with his Nitro Express double-barrel rifle for what he perceived to be a quick kill, and claimed the ultimate trophy for the ultimate hunter. When Roland takes the infant Tyrannosaur from the nest, it's never explicitly shown how the baby breaks its leg. While still a young animal and no doubt much more frail than its parents, it would still take quite a bit of force to break one of its bones, and some of the public seem to believe that it was Roland himself who broke the baby's leg to ensure it wouldn't run away once brought back to camp. However, a deleted scene from the Lost World reveals that the real culprit behind the animal's painful cries is none other than the new CEO of InGen himself, Peter Ludlow. David Koepp, the writer of the first and second films, was incredibly sad to see this deleted scene cut from the film, as it outlined both Roland and Ludlow's characters for the audience, while both men discussed their differing philosophies and ideological thinking in the world. Ludlow was particularly adamant about wanting the baby for Jurassic Park San Diego, and during this scene, while intoxicated, Ludlow hears a small animal scurry into the underbrush and trips and falls on the baby dinosaur's leg, breaking it. This is what leads to the animal's constant moaning, which eventually leads its parents to it later in the film, when Nick Van Owen, a Greenpeace and Earth First environmentalist, brings it into his team's camp in a bleeding hard effort to mend its leg. This leads to the huge disapproval of everyone on the team, with the exception of Sarah, who although helps, still believes it to be a bad idea, and leads into a scene where Kelly and Ian depart for the high hide to get away from the impending danger they've all just been put into. This famous scene leads to the Tyrannosaurus reclaiming their infant and destroying the Challenger trailers by pushing them over the cliff and into the ocean. Not many people know of this deleted scene that describes how that infant Tyrannosaur's leg was broken, and many seem to draw a bigger conversation out of the moral response Nick has to the pain the animal is going through. Some detractors of the Lost World have brought up several times that the real villain of the film should have been Nick Van Owen, seeing as how he is responsible for all of the dinosaurs breaking out of the InGen camp, and thus responsible for the following deaths of these men. However, I believe it's important to bring up another deleted scene that isn't talked about either. When the Gatherer team sets off to sabotage the InGen camp, it was originally to include Ian himself asserting that the camp had to be absolutely trashed because of the chaotic implications these animals would bring to the innocent public on the mainland. Malcolm has always been a stark detractor of Jurassic Park, and never a believer in the power of the company thinks it has over these animals, as there have always been far too many variables and different outcomes to determine the flawless system of perfection with which the company believes it has. Even though John Hammond hired Nick for the specific purpose of sabotaging his nephew in case he did manage to capture the animals on Sorna, it's important to note that this scene originally depicted Ian helping cut fuse lines and disabling several animal cages in an effort to stop the animals from reaching the mainland himself. The moral ambiguity and ethical choices the characters make in the Lost World isn't a flaw within the film, and is actually an interesting intersection of ideas and choices two warring tribes make against each other in what is basically a corporate war between John Hammond and his nephew, Peter Ludlow. While it's true Van Owen is responsible for the carnage caused on Isla Sorna, he's doing so in order to prevent the eventual carnage that would take place in San Diego, which unfortunately still came to pass. Deleted scenes within this particular film are quite numerous, and many outline the opposing characters and are entertaining for any fan of the franchise to watch. The first scene in which I mentioned Ludlow's participation in the injury of the infant Rex is itself directly responsible for the anger that two parents share when they eventually locate their offspring. Roland didn't intend to kill the baby at all during the film, and even presents himself as a man of honor and strict code when his fellow hunter Dieter Stark goes missing from the group, and even tells his companion specifically that no one tells the little girl, fearing for Kelly's stress and how upset it would make her after she's already in such a terribly traumatic situation. The reason these two scenes were cut from the film is more than likely due to pacing, seeing as The Lost World is still the longest running film of the franchise. In my opinion, the scene specifically showing Ludlow falling on the baby is incredibly fascinating to think about, and one I personally would love to see restored someday. No footage of this scene exists in any form on the internet, and the only available proof of its existence is the still image of Ludlow's fall. Perhaps someday we will get to see this certain scene return, but for now, the film stands as it is. No harm is directly done to the quality of the film by not showing this exact moment, but I can imagine much more insight would be given to the already despicable Peter Ludlow once the audience sees firsthand just how bad he really is. In the future, I've got a ton of more videos planned, so make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get to see my latest content, and if you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate a like. As always guys, take it easy.